secret COVID detention centers in Quebec.
Forced quarantine?
Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. Viva Fry Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and people have been asking me to cover this situation for the last few weeks. On September 2nd, one Dr. Jacques Girard gave an interview that left more questions than answers. Now, just a brief intro for context. Dr. Jacques Girard is the Directeur de la Santé Publique de la Capitale Nationale.
English, do you speak it?
In English, that means the Director of Public Health for the Capitale Nationale, which is a region of Quebec near Quebec City that includes 6 boroughs or 6 other districts. And at first glance, you might be tempted to think that this is a purely local provincial problem, but trust me, the ramifications of this situation go well beyond our provincial border. So during this September 2nd, 2020 update on the COVID situation in the Capitale Nationale region of Quebec, this Dr. Girard, the Director of Public Health for that region, said some things that raised a lot of eyebrows. He suggested forced confinement in facilities, the location of which he would not disclose, forced collaboration with investigations. What he suggested raised a lot of eyebrows. I started getting a ton of emails to look into what he said, whether or not it was true, and whether or not, if true, it is legal. But before we get into any of that, you are going to hear the words straight from the proverbial horse's mouth. Now, it's all in French, and the translation is mine. I did my best. I think I'm pretty good, but don't attack me if something is not 100% accurate in the translation.
Although I think it is, because I'm pretty darn good at translating French to English.
The section of the interview is about 3.5 minutes long. I didn't want to edit it. I didn't want to be accused of having taken anything out of context, but give it a watch. It is fascinating, terrifying, jaw-dropping, eye-opening, any other qualifier you can think of.
Docteur Girard, avant de terminer, il y a une journaliste qui ne pouvait pas être présente ici qui demande brièvement, est-ce que des ordonnances ont été émises à l'endroit des clients récalcitrants?
Yes.
Merci, Docteur Girard.
Est-ce que ça peut être une phrase complète en français?
Oui, l'ordonnance concernait justement 2 personnes qui ne collaboraient pas. Et on trouve que c'est formidable de pouvoir finalement utiliser ce levier-là. Vous savez, avant, si on n'était pas en urgence sanitaire, le directeur de santé publique peut utiliser ce pouvoir pendant 72 heures, en attendant qu'un juge, finalement, là, confirme l'ordonnance. Dans le cas de la COVID-19, nous avons la possibilité d'isoler quelqu'un pendant 14 jours. Et c'est ce que nous avons fait ce matin. Et c'est ce que nous avons déjà fait dans le passé. Et on a aussi, comme on l'a fait ce matin, obligé une personne à collaborer à l'enquête. Et on l'avait déjà fait dans le passé, avec succès, et avec une collaboration extraordinaire des corps policiers.
Merci à tout le monde. Passez une bonne fin de journée.
Quand vous ordonnez quelqu'un pendant 14 jours à rester chez eux, là, c'est pas chez eux que ça se passe. Là. 14 jours, là, le séjour, c'est à la prison dans une cellule de détention.
Est-ce que vous avez l'impression d'être dans une prison?
Ben,
Parce que c'est ça. Souvent, ce qu'on fait, c'est que c'est un endroit. Nous, comme on est le CIUS, en fait, a la possibilité d'offrir justement des isolements préventifs. Ça se passe finalement. C'est une disposition qui est beaucoup plus facile quand on a quelqu'un qui ne collabore pas. Puis ça devient vraiment complexe.
La personne qui est surveillée, mais
Ouais.
elle est en isolement exactement où ça peut être aussi.
C'est pas nécessaire de préciser.
C'est ça. Mais est-ce que...
C'est pas à la maison,
c'est pas la, ben, ça dépend de la personne.
OK.
Parce qu'on a eu des personnes qu'on a isolées chez eux. À un moment donné, la personne, on voyait bien qu'elle n'était pas chez elle. On lui a fait, donc, on est allé chez elle. Et là, on lui a dit, on vous isole là où on veut que vous soyez, ou vous observez la règle. Et il a observé la règle. Donc, vous voyez, ça dépend des cas.
Vous êtes 2 ordonnances. Est-ce qu'il y en aurait une pour collaborer à l'enquête, puis l'autre pour rester à la maison?
Oui, c'est ça. C'est une ordonnance, en fait, où les 2 personnes, parce que l'ordonnance, on la transmet aux policiers. Donc, oui. On peut faire sur une ordonnance, on peut identifier plusieurs personnes. Hein, fait que ça dépend. Là, ça donne, c'est la première fois qu'on fait ça. Généralement, c'est une ordonnance, une personne là, qui est récalcitrante, là, qui ne coopère pas.
OK, donc 2 ordonnances, puis une pour collaborer à l'enquête, puis l'autre pour rester à la maison.
Oui, c'est une disposition légale émise par l'ordonnance qui nous permet justement d'obliger ces personnes-là contre leur gré. Il faut bien le dire, hein, c'est ça, mais dans l'intérêt public. Pardon?
On préférerait sortir de ça.
C'est une ordonnance dans laquelle on a oui, parce que c'est une technicalité là, juridique là, que je ne demandez-moi pas de l'expliquer. Là, c'est les avocats qui gèrent ça, là, mais c'est comme ça que ça se passe.
In his answers to the reporters, you have Dr. Girard actually confirming that you can have forced arrests, forced detention, forced compliance with investigations, failing which you can be put in an undisclosed location for up to 14 days. I am sure I'm not alone in the sentiment that these are not the hallmarks of a free and democratic society, these are the trademarks of a fascist and tyrannical society. But emotions and political anger aside, what is going on? Now, I have in fact done a video on Canada's Quarantine Act. If you haven't seen that video, go give it a watch. I'm going to link it right here. In that video, I went into the extreme powers the Quarantine Act gives to the government, and yes, it should terrify you that these are in fact the powers that the Quarantine Act gives to the government. Quarantine Act, an act to prevent the introduction and spread of communicable diseases. Purpose. The purpose of this act is to protect public health by taking comprehensive measures to prevent the introduction and spread of communicable diseases. And reading from Wikipedia, the Quarantine Act 2005 is an act of the Parliament of Canada which regulates the use of quarantine to prevent the introduction and spread of communicable diseases. Introduced in the aftermath of the 2002 to 2004 SARS outbreak, the Act grants the ability to designate quarantine facilities, require health screenings upon arrival or exit of the country, and issue emergency orders that impose conditions or prohibitions on the entry of individuals or imports in order to prevent the spread of communicable diseases. It also imposes fines on those who disobey quarantine officers or quarantine orders. And as we have seen in previous vlogs, those fines can be excessive to say the least, and they can include imprisonment or fines of up to $750,000. And just to give you an idea of some of the powers that law confers onto authorities, let me just give you a few concrete examples from the law itself. Duty to provide information. Duty. Every traveler shall answer any relevant questions asked by a screening officer or quarantine officer and provide to the officer any information or record in their possession that the officer may reasonably require in the performance of a duty under this act. Compliance with measures. Every traveler shall comply with any reasonable measure ordered by a screening officer or quarantine officer for the purposes of preventing the introduction and spread of a communicable disease. Obligation to inform. A screening officer shall immediately inform a quarantine officer and follow any directive of that officer respecting the traveler if the screening officer has reasonable grounds to suspect that a traveler has or might have a communicable disease or is infested with vectors or has recently been in close proximity to a person who has or might have a communicable disease or is infested with vectors. For those of you who may not know what a vector is something through which the disease can travel. But check out this power when it comes to forced isolation. Isolation. The screening officer may, without directives from a quarantine officer, isolate the traveler individually or within a group until the traveler is assessed by a quarantine officer. Arrest without warrant. A peace officer may, at the request of a screening officer or quarantine officer, arrest without a warrant and bring to a quarantine officer any traveler who the peace officer has reasonable grounds to believe has refused to be isolated or refuses to comply with a measure under subsection 15.3. Order to comply with treatment or measure. If a quarantine officer, after the medical examination of a traveler, has reasonable grounds to believe that the traveler has or might have a communicable disease or is infested with vectors, or has recently been in close proximity to a person who has or might have a communicable disease or is infested with vectors, the quarantine officer may order the traveler to comply with treatment or any other measure for preventing the introduction and spread of the communicable disease. Those are actual provisions from the actual law that is currently in effect in Canada. Now that you know that, do you still find what Dr. Girard said to be so surprising? And full disclosure, I don't know how this law has been interpreted. I don't think this law has been interpreted very much. I think this is the first time that this law has really been put into effect. Will that provision of law that I just read allow for the forced vaccination of Canadian citizens? I don't know. I do not know how that provision will be interpreted and applied, but one thing I do know is that in Canada, we do in theory have a constitution that does in fact in theory protect our basic civil rights and liberties. Constitution Act 1982. Part 1. Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. Guarantee of rights and freedoms.
Not a guarantee.
Article 1. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees the rights and freedoms set out in it, subject only to such reasonable limits prescribed by law as can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. Translation into non-constitutional legalese: every Canadian has fundamental rights and liberties,
But
fundamental freedoms. Everyone has the following fundamental freedoms. A. Freedom of conscience and religion. B. Freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. C. Freedom of peaceful assembly. And D. Freedom of association.
But...
Mobility rights. Article 6. Every citizen of Canada has the right to enter, remain in, and leave Canada. Every citizen of Canada and every person who has the status of a permanent resident of Canada has the right, A, to move to and take up residence in any province, and B, to pursue the gaining of a livelihood in any province. Legal rights. Article 7. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person and the right not to be deprived thereof except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. Article 8. Everyone has the right to be secure against unreasonable search or seizure. Article 9. Everyone has the right not to be arbitrarily detained or imprisoned. Article 12. Everyone has the right not to be subjected to any cruel and unusual treatment or punishment. Everyone has the right to peaceful assembly unless there's a pandemic. Everyone has the right to move or take up residence in a province unless the borders to that province are closed because of a pandemic. Everyone has the right not to be arbitrarily detained unless you are being detained by a quarantine officer in virtue of the Quarantine Act. Is everything Dr. Girard said permitted or authorized under the Quarantine Act? I have no doubt that it is, but in case you had any doubt, let's just read from a June 30th, 2020 press release from the Government of Canada. Canada extends mandatory requirements under the Quarantine Act for anyone entering Canada. The Government of Canada's top priority is the health and safety of Canadians. To limit the introduction and spread of COVID-19 in the country, Canada has taken unprecedented action, including restrictions on non-essential travel. Today, the Government of Canada extended the emergency order requirements related to mandatory isolation and quarantine until August 31st, 2020 for travelers entering Canada. Anyone entering Canada, whether by air, land, or sea, will continue to be required to isolate for 14 days if they have COVID-19 or have reasonable grounds to suspect that they have signs and symptoms of COVID-19, or quarantine for 14 days if they do not have signs and symptoms of COVID-19. The order also clarifies when travelers are required to wear a non-medical mask or face covering. This includes a new requirement for individuals who are otherwise exempt from quarantine to wear a non-medical mask or face covering when in public gatherings if physical distancing cannot be maintained. Now, I have done a ton of vlogs on lawsuits and judgments coming out of the United States challenging the constitutionality of certain lockdown COVID measures that have been implemented in various states. There just seem to be a lot more lawsuits and judgments coming out of the United States than coming out of Canada. I have done so many vlogs on the subject that I made an entire playlist, which I will include right here. And is that cricket driving anybody else crazy? Under Canadian law, much like under American law, when there is a law that infringes on a constitutional right, there has to be a compelling reason, a compelling objective for that law, and the infringement has to be as minimal as possible, meaning the law has to be as narrowly tailored as possible to achieve its objective. It just seems to me, based on the number of lawsuits coming out of the United States compared to the absence of lawsuits coming out of Canada, that Canadians don't necessarily take their fundamental constitutional rights as seriously as do Americans. Do the provisions of the Quarantine Act and the measures that have been implemented at the federal and provincial level infringe on our constitutional rights? I have no doubt that they do. Can they be saved by the first article of our Constitution? I'm not so sure that they can. Maybe one day Canada will have its own Judge William S. Stickman IV who will stand up for our constitutional rights. For the time being, all I can do is watch videos, be somewhat shocked, and express my concerns to the rest of the world in my car through this camera. And with that said, if you like my videos and you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comment section below because it feeds the algorithm. If you want to support the channel, all of the support links are in the pinned comment. We've got PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar, YouTube membership, merch if anybody wants to get their merch. But more important than all of that, take care of yourselves, check in on friends and family. Together, we will ultimately get through all of this. It's only going to be a question of whether or not we have learned the right lessons. And now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah.